Let's look at how we can solve questions of simple interest by using the concept of arithmetic series. Let's say you invest $1,200 for 5 years, earning 5% per annum simple interest. Per annum means annually or at the end of every year. Now the question is, what will be the value of your investment at the end of 5 years? If you look at the question, the first term is going to be $1,200. Now at the end of the first year, you're going to get an interest rate of 5% on this amount. So if you calculate that, 5% is 0.05. 0.05 times 1,200 will give you the simple interest, which is $60. That means at the end of the first year, you're going to get an interest of $60. That means my U2 is going to be $1,260. For the next term, you're going to get 5% on 1,200 again. Remember that this interest rate is not on the second term. For simple interest, it's always on the first term. So 0.05 of $1,200 is also $60. That means my U3 is going to be 1,260 plus 60, which is $1,320. If you look at the pattern, this is actually an arithmetic series. Let me write it down like this: 1,200, 1,260, 1,300, 200, and so on. My U1 is 1,200 and it's increasing by $60 every year. So that means my common difference is going to be $60 only. Now the question is, you have to find your investment, the value of your investment at the end of 5 years. Now there's a trick in this question, that's why I chose this one. At the end, what does it mean? When you deposit a money in the bank, right? This is the first amount that you invested. Now at the end of the first year, you are actually going to get 1,260. So this is the amount that you are going to get at the end of the first year. That means at the end of the first year, you are actually going to get U2, the second term. Now after this year, you will go to the second year. So at the end of the second year, you are actually going to get this term, which is your U3, which is the third term. That means if you want to find the value at the end of 5 years, you actually have to find the sixth term, not the fifth. We already know how to find the term of an arithmetic series. We learned before that un equals to u1 plus n minus 1 times t. Now u1 is my first term, which is going to be $1,200, plus 6. N is the number of terms, which is 6 in this case. So 6 minus 1, and the common difference is 60. It's 1,200 plus, this is 5 times 60, which is 300. That means you are going to get $1,500 at the end of the 5 years. Okay, so for this question, even if they're asking us to find the value at the end of 5 years, you're going to use sixth term, because this is what you are actually going to get at the end of 5 years. Now there is another way to find the final value, but before that, I would like to introduce you to some terms that you will come across when you solve questions on simple interest. Let's look at the terms. So the first one is P. This is the principal. Now principal is the amount that you deposit in the bank. It's the value of your investment. This is the initial amount. Then we have A. This equals to the final amount. Okay, final amount, and you can tell that R is the rate of interest, and then we have N, which is the number of years. So these are the terms that you need to know. Now when you first deposit an amount in your bank, right, your final amount is only that money, the principal. Then at the end of the first year, you just have you will have this amount, the principal, and on top of that you will also get the interest rate. Now, how do we calculate the interest rate? If you look at this question, right, we multiplied the interest rate with our initial amount, which is the principal. So you can write this A is actually equals to P plus P times R. Now, at the end of the second year, let me just write it down. At the end of the second year, you are going to have this money, and on top of that, you will also receive the interest rate, the interest again, which is P times R. So if you look at the pattern, right, it's something like this. If you take out the P, you will have 1 plus R. Then P plus this 2, these are like terms, so you can actually add it. So it equals to P plus 2PR. Then you can take out the P and you can write 1 plus 2R. So at the end of the first year, it's just this. At the end of the second year, it's just this. Same thing, only thing that is changing is this number. At the end of the first year, it's 1. For second year, it's 2. That means if you look at the question, right, this one, at the end of 5 years, so I'm going to use the same formula, but I'm just going to change this number. So my A for 5 years is going to be P times 1 plus 5R. My principal of this question was $1,200. 1 is just 1 plus 5 times the interest rate was 0.05. If you calculate it, you will get $1,500, which is the same answer as this one. Therefore, when you have questions of simple interest, right, you don't need to do all of this every time. You can just use this formula straight away. So if you think about the general term, is just going to be A equals to P times 1 plus N times R, where P is your principal, 1 is just 1, N is the number of years, or at the end of like this year, then R is the simple of interest. All you need to do is just substitute the numbers into this and you will have your final amount.